Hello everyone, my name is Damien Oliver. Welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to continue with the FTB Infinity Evolved mod pack. We're still playing on the purple Patreon server, so if you haven't checked that out yet, feel free to check out the purplementat.com. That you'll find the link down below in the description. Last time we went over the basics of how to get mana and how we get started with Thaumcraft. Specifically, we started building some of these tables over here, and we also got our Thaumanomicon and our wand. Now, the wand's full, but frankly, it's the smallest wand that's available, so I kind of want to move on beyond that. To do that, we're going to have to work with a couple of different crafting systems, frankly. So let's get you a little bit caught up here. First of all, I've gone through, well, correction, as a side note, I did go through over there and I do now have cotton. That was actually pretty easy because I already had 2 plants. So I can now collect the cotton, and as you can see, I got a fair bit of it. Takes 3 cotton to make a string, 4 string to make a wool. So as far as fiber goes, I'm pretty much set. Really the thing that's hurting me most right now is the lack of leather, which I could take care of if I use my cow eggs here, but I don't really want to do that. The other option is there is a recipe where you can throw it into a mana pool, but it needs to have a alchemic catalyst below it, and that recipe got a lot more complicated with Infinity Evolved. Just like a lot of other things. So, back to Thaumcraft, there was another way we could open it. And I did a bunch of research, like a bunch. And as you can see, I kind of filled out most of the alchemy one. There is still a bit to go, but I want to say I probably got 75 to 90% of it done already. I touched a little bit of artifice, a little bit of thaumaturgy, basically getting a couple wand caps and integrate with wand core, which is what we're going to need next. And I'll get to more of that later. I haven't really touched most of these. I've kind of filled out a lot of the Ex Nihilo one, or Ex Astra, excuse me. I still haven't created the runic. Well, I researched how to make the basic runic matrix, but I haven't researched how to make it from the sky yet. We might get to that later. But this does have a couple different things that we can use. For example, it gives us a way to get cinder pearls. It gives us a way to give us simmer leaf. This room's silver wood, great wood. There is a thaumium hammer, which you remember the hammers earlier. One stone hammer usually lasted, I want to say, about 2.5 stacks or something like that of cobblestone. Well, as you can see here, that hammer was stone. Each one gets progressively better. This one is actually surpassing diamond. So I think if I look here, diamond has 1562. Thaumium has the same thing. Interesting. So the book might be slightly wrong there. That might be something else that Infinity Evolved messed with as well. So, yeah. The thing to know though is the thaumium hammer is enchantable with anything that has thaumium, and that includes the repair enchant, which I'm not sure a diamond hammer can get. So there is that. Now, of course, I'm not really using the hammer, but that's more, sidelines. Also, the cinder pearl, the simmer leaf, and the vishrooms, I believe, can all be gained through agricraft. I know the simmer leaf and the cinder pearl, at least. The visroom I'm not as positive on, but frankly, I'm not really sure what the visroom is used for, really. There's that. These will just basically require a bunch of cross-breeding and a little bit of patience, really. They're not major issues right now. Though I will need some relief to get the Eternal Bloom, And I will need the Eternal Bloom to get the Silverwood tree. And I technically need both of them to get the Greatwood sapling too. So there's that. One of the main things that is useful here, though, is the Thaumium barrel, which is basically a barrel made out of Thaumium. You can pour water in it and put it in a freezing doll to summon a Blizz, or put witch water in it and a Obsidian to get an Obsidian totem. I can also take a Thaumium doll and throw it into a Thaumium barrel, which holds witch water, and that summons a Pex Forager, which is... I'm not sure if you've seen Pex from Thaumcraft or not, because I don't think I've really encountered one of them in one of my series so far. But they're kind of the equivalent to a Thaumcraft villager, but they have different spawning rules. They don't have villages, and they trade differently. So this is a way to summon them here, since you can't get them normally. It also has ways of getting the mana-based or the magic-based bees if I ever get into bees. So there's that. I've also done a little bit. Well, actually, I don't think I've actually done anything in Thaumic Tinkering yet. Thaumic Tinkering, for the most part, is something that needs a bit more resources before we can get into it. Apocrypha, I did do a little bit in here. And before, we could only really see these 5 things. These opened up, I think, when I researched the infusion table, which probably means they need infusions. But I'm guessing, like the other ones, their recipe has been changed. This one is one of the more useful ones, though. Whisperweed, like I said, its recipe has been changed, so this could be a bit more complicated. In fact, I don't even know that's technically doable now. Hold on a second. Because that recipe has a mana petal, which we don't have mana petals anymore. Oh, I guess... Huh. I guess we'll have to get that through AgriCraft or something. Or no, just... Okay. I thought that was the one that had to be dumped in a mana pool. Sorry about that, guys. But basically, we need a knowledge fragment, a mana diamond, that's going to be easy to get. The redstone root shouldn't be too hard. It's this rune of envy here that's going to be a problem, because that's the tier 4, no, sorry, tier 5 at least, slate from blood magic. Plus, we need 2 more mana diamonds. So yeah, like I said, that one there is going to be the pain. But there are other ones here. Flame Thistle is kind of useful, especially for Thaumcraft, if you're producing a lot of taint. It basically eats the taint and creates mana. I can't remember what this one does. I think this is the one that consumes a lot of mana, but produces the aura essences. I might forget what they're called. There they are. The Eternal Essences. Those are kind of rare crafter materials, kind of like a gas tier in Thaumcraft. So there's that. Now, something I didn't know is, like I said before, we could see this, but I forgot that we can kind of drag this around and see a couple other things. This here is the Umbra Rose, which is kind of a useful recipe in most other types of maps, but isn't as useful here. And basically, it creates a weed-like flower that spreads continuously, and every time you break it, you get black dye. So you don't have to go after squids to hunt for ink. There's a couple other things here too. Lord of Hellfire is a kind of useful one. Basically allows you to do a couple things in the nether, including lighting fire with your wand on certain materials, including netherrack or obsidian. Yeah. The other one was the Ring of Nutrition, which I haven't gotten yet because we haven't gotten these gluttony shards yet. but it basically adds extra food to anything that you eat. So if, say, a cookie only gives you half a shank of food, this will give you, I want to say 2 shanks now, or something like that. I'd have to double check it. So the only downside is you have to have it on your finger, so it takes up a bobble slot. And I'm not sure about these side effects here. Nausea is a possibility. Headaches, vertigo, and stuff like that are all possible side effects. But cramping, diabetes, and sudden interest in healthy, not sure if those are actual side effects or not, or whether or not that's just a joke that was put in there. So, there are other ones too, but we'll get to more of those later. Haven't really touched the bees yet. Well, besides the one nest. Or, I forget, was that everything? I missed the pickaxe of the distortion, but I haven't researched that yet either, so I don't think we'll be getting to it. Haven't touched bees, haven't touched energistics, although a couple things have been accidentally discovered through energistics because I discovered other things. So, yeah. Let's see here, like, I've discovered Essentia Distillation, Advanced Essentia 2, so that popped up here. The Infusion popped up here. There's probably something in between here that I'm missing research for. I discovered a chemical duplication, so that popped up quartz duplication, and probably whatever that wand cap is. Or at least that looks like a wand cap. It might be a wand focus. Thaumic Consortia I have kind of gone over a bit, and it's actually more useful than I thought it was going to be. Again, because I discovered Infusion and a couple other things, Essentia Distillation, the Void Jar, other things have opened up. And some of these are quite useful. Before, I think all we could see was this, and that was because I just wasn't moving around. There's Seal of Jar Binding is something that I did have to buy. That one was unlocked, but it wasn't really anything important. The Great Wood One Core I discovered in Thaumaturgy. That opened up this one, which I haven't seen yet. These two I don't know about, but the Everfill Urn is kind of like an infinite water source that fills up other containers around it. I don't know if they will work with a piping system or not. But if so, that would be a smaller alternative than the Oculus Accumulator, because we wouldn't need the water sources nearby. But it could also be useful in other Thaumcraft and potentially Botania as well, because there are a couple of things that need to be filled up with water constantly. Another one is this Talisman of Nourishment, which I played with in another mod pack. I'm not sure if it's been changed here. But basically, the Talisman of Nourishment consumes food that's in your inventory, then automatically keeps your food topped off based on what food is eaten. So it's basically an auto feeder. And there was a couple of other things here I discovered too. Magic tallow is one of the things that I discovered that basically turns rotten flesh into candle wax, and then you can make candles. These work as torch alternatives, and they also work as stabilizers for infusion, which is something I'll go over later. But it also opened up floating candles, which means they can now float in the air, and flesh purification, which is the other way of getting leather. So, admittedly, this is a bit of a pain to get as far as getting leather is concerned, but it's definitely doable, especially after we make some improvements on our crafting systems here. So, and of course another one bites the dust, not concerned with that. So, as far as crafting goes, Thaumcraft has a couple, like 3 tiers of crafting really. The first one here is the Arcane table, and it looks just like your normal crafting table. The only difference is you can see these lights blinking here. That means it requires that it needs a wand with these aspects to be there. Now, something I want to point out, if you take a look at my wand, it's saying 109 average visit cost. That means while these would normally only take 3, well, I guess they still are taking 3. But in higher recipes, it will take a little bit more because of the extra biz cost. This is basically the caps on this wand. Well, the caps on any wand are what determines the cost. The core is what determines the capacity. And the iron caps are really, really poor caps. In fact, they're probably the worst you can get. Actually, I'm not entirely sure. Oh, that's probably why. Well, as a note, the iron caps are usually a 110 average cost, but I'm guessing it's taking my Terra ring into account or something. So yeah, whatever. So we basically need a small bit of gold nuggets, which, by the way, the compacting drawers with gold downstairs really helps with this. I mean, we don't need it, but it helps for organization. And then we need 3 air, fire, and ordo. So you take a look at my wand now, and you can even kind of see the numbers there. Or I can show it to you like that at the top left. It's definitely taking a hit considering the wand was full. So that's how we do the basic tier crafting. We may or may not need to do more of that later. Likely we will, because that's something that kind of sticks with us throughout the entire pack. Well, mod, sorry. But there is something else we need to go over. I forgot it downstairs. My apologies, guys. Basically, tier 2 crafting is very different from what we experience in normal Minecraft. If you haven't done Thaumcraft before, it's kind of more akin to alchemy because that's what it is. And in order to do it, we need to get a cauldron. Now, a cauldron needs a source of heat below it. I believe there are 3 types of heat that you can use in this case. They're kind of like the crucible over here that requires fire or lava, but whereas the crucible can take a torch, I don't think this cauldron can. So we're going to put the fire down there, and you'll notice I kind of had to cut down my apple tree. There just wasn't enough room up here that wasn't flammable or wasn't hiding behind something. But anyways, you slap down your cauldron here, you grab your wand, and I don't really think you need anything in this to do it. So yeah, that didn't cost me anything. But then you just right click on it with your wand and you have a crucible. Easy, right? Now there is something I want to get started on here, and this I believe came from the Asterisk recipe. But basically you can put wood inside a great wood, or inside a crucible with 3 arbor and 1 precantatio to get some great wood. So let me chop down one of my trees here. Actually, I might. Yeah, I already had some wood on me already, but oh well. As a note, for those who didn't know, the apple tree is just a sapling plus an apple. And I have plenty of apples already, so that's not going to be hard to replace. Now, before you get started with this, it is a good thing to make sure you have all your materials prepared ahead of time, because this is slightly time-based. What's going to happen is I'm going to throw in these 6 planks, and they only have 1 arbor. So since I want 2 planks, I'll throw in 2 wood, and that would be 3 wood each, no problem. Precantatio, on the other hand, is a little bit harder to find. Oh yeah, by the way, when you do Thaumcraft, make sure you scan everything you make. Sorry, precantatio, which is the magic aspect, is a little bit harder to find, especially on its own. So later we'll definitely want to kind of refine it. But what we can do right now is we can use moss stone. Remember, moss stone generally tends to accumulate, or rather convert, from cobblestone being around a barrel full of water. In this case, I'm pretty sure, I think I broke these 2 stone. But if I broke any one of these, it would just take water from here and eventually convert it into mossy stone. Now, the reason I say this is slightly timed is if I hold shift here, I can tell you what aspects are inside the mossy cobblestone, and all I need is the precantatio. But that terra and that herba are still going to be in there once I'm finished, or at least ideally. And the reason this is somewhat timed is because as they stay in there, they eventually break down. And herba will probably become life, and I want to say terra, and then that will become terra and aqua. And when they become primals and they deteriorate, then we start getting nasty flux in the air, which is kind of, well, a magical pollution, really. We'll be magically polluting our atmosphere. So generally we want to try to avoid doing that. But like I said, precantatio is not something that's commonly found, and this is the best source I could find for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to toss these 6 in here, toss that in there, and toss those 2 in there. And great wood will automatically be spit back at us, so we now have our great wood logs. Now you can't see it, but you see all these bubbles. That means there's still essences in there. Like I said, that's probably our terra and our herba. Over time, they're going to break down, and they're either going to come up into the atmosphere as a magical, like, fog that will kind of hurt the overall atmosphere of the area. Or the other option is it's going to spill out of the cauldron into a small sludge, which on its own is probably not bad, but if enough of it deteriorates into here, other bad things can happen, which is kind of a more immediate effect, whereas going up into the atmosphere is kind of a more long-term thing. So, why did we need this? What we're going to do is we're going to take the 2 great woods, at least I thought we were. Yeah, that should work. Maybe I just need, okay, there we go. Normally it will give you the item and then show you what aspect you're missing. I didn't see the little gray empty symbol here. That's my bad. And yeah, we are getting a small hit for efficiency here because this is costing us 3.3 instead of 3. So there's that. But what we can do now is we can take our great wood 1 core and our 2 iron caps, and this is going to take 9.9 except for 9.81 from all of our aspects, because again we got that efficiency hit, but our terror ring is helping us out a little bit there. But this is going to give us a wand with twice the capacity, and it's not going to show it to me right away, but if I go over here and smack a couple of mobs a little bit here, give me 1 second. Okay, did I collect any? I should have. I collected some. Okay, yeah. See, the iron cap one says it's going to have 110 this cost. This shows us it's only 100%. So we are, this is kind of this is the poor man's wand, this is the average wand. Ideally, we're going to want to get better wands, but we're going to have to work for that. So, there was something else I was wanting to tell you guys, but I forgot what it was. Alright. This here was the table I was mentioning earlier. The deconstruction table. I think In fact, I'm pretty sure they altered this recipe because I think it was a diamond axe and a diamond pick before. But a man of steel pickaxe and a man of steel axe are not hard to get. But basically what it is these are going to change how you get your research points, because just a reminder, scan everything you make, because this is the only way you really get aspect points normally. Now we do get a lot of, if you remember, we do get a lot of points from different things that I've shown you downstairs. I'm not sure if I scanned these or not. Yeah, I did. These provide a lot of points. Normally you only see things with, if you see something with 10 points total, that's usually pretty good. If you see something that has more than 10 points, that usually means it's a mod item that somebody has added the aspects for. And like I said, these are really good. Even your slab here is 12. Your bed is 13. So most of the stuff at first you're going to get is going to be, you know, 5, 10 or something like that. But again, scan everything you make, because the other option you're going to have is this deconstruction table here. And basically what happens if I make this right now, I basically feed it items, and it will burn through those items, and every now and then, like maybe a 1 in 15, 1 in 20 chance, I'll get one of the base aspects that make up that item. What do I mean by that? Well, a good example here is dirt. That only has one base aspect. So if I put a stack of dirt in there, I may get, you know, 2 to 4, maybe 5 terra if I'm lucky. But if I put in the oak sapling here, I'm going to have a very large chance of getting terra, but because arbor and herba both have life in them, I also have a chance of getting the water aspect. So it won't give me the life aspect, but it will give me one of the, basically gives me a chance for every aspect broken down into its primals. So the more aspects something has, then the greater chance I will have of getting my choice of the aspects, but it's also the random. I believe, not this one, but normal crafting tables give out a large amount of all aspects, I believe. So they have a random chance of getting anything. The paper probably would too. But if you're looking for something specific, then you're definitely going to want this hunt. If for some reason you don't know what aspects are found where, though, for example, you don't know where to find precontatio like I just showed you, you can go to the aspects of magic, and not only will these show you the different ways that you can make those aspects, but if you hover over the aspects, it will show you where you found those aspects in the past. Now you see here with Aurum. Aurum is something I had to make by mixing precontatio and Aura. I have not found anything with Aurum yet, but I have found things with Bestia. So there's that. But if you're looking for just primal enchant or aspects, there are good ways of finding those. Like with air, sugarcane would probably be your better bet there. I can tell you that you can also find it in grass, like the tall grass that you'll need to use shears to get. That's probably your better bet, honestly. Water, probably going to be sugarcane or snowballs. Dirt and getting terra should be pretty easy because that's just dirt, cobblestone, whatever. Ordo, it's a little bit more difficult. You can get that from iron. You can get that from, I want to say chiseled stone and chiseled sandstone are good options for that one. That one's also a good one for cobblestone and fire. These are alphabetical, so I shouldn't have that much trouble. Fire is kind of an iffy one. By the way, if you see a number next to an icon, that shows you how many of that aspect you can get from it. So I think in this particular case, your better bets are probably going to be gunpowder or the blaze powder. I'm pretty sure coal, yeah, coal and charcoal will also give it to you. But it kind of depends, really. For that matter, a good source of fire would also be anything that has potentia in it, which means that the redstone could also be a good option, if, you know, somewhat expensive. So that's how that works. But besides that, I think that's all we have for Thaumcraft and about all the time we have for today. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to fill up my wand, maybe do a little bit more research and try to improve on this alchemy setup here because we're not really set for the tier 3 aspects yet. Right now, all we can do is throw items into here and hope we get the right aspects and the right combinations, and then we have to deal with the pollution afterwards. What we can do is we can set up the essential distillation, which requires this setup here. This is actually one of the few recipes I don't think that had been messed with. Yeah. We will need these filters, but remember we do have that other recipe that allows for string to be used. A lot of string, which is why we got that cotton. But basically what we can use this for is we can use this process to break down an item into its base essentia, and then we can use that for both this part of crafting as a more refined method, and we can also use that for the tier 3 crafting. But that's something we'll have to get to probably next time, I'm afraid. And like I said, I'm going to get the stuff set up for that right away, but I'm going to try to go over it while you guys are there. Now, the essentia is stored into these warty jars. This has been messed with, and so we need mana glass panes, which is probably a good thing why I have, you know, a stack of 62 mana glass here, so I got plenty of that. Basically each jar holds 64 of each aspect. So if dirt has 2 terra, I can put 32 dirt into one jar, and basically. It doesn't necessarily all have to be dirt, it's just terra. So, you know, 3 dirt and 58 cobblestone will do it too. But of course, the cobblestone also has Perditio on there, so we'll need another jar for that. Unfortunately, we can't mix inside the same jars. But I have gone ahead and explored a couple other options. The void jar is kind of what the name sounds like. It basically holds the same thing as a normal jar does, but then it voids anything over that amount, whereas this just won't accept it. Like a chest being full, basically. And then these are the pipes, which is kind of how we're going to get the stuff from the essential distillation into the jars. And there's some advanced pipes too. Now these 2 other things are also options. I might consider them, we'll have to see. I've always kind of wanted to play with the essential crystallization, because basically that doesn't use the jars at all. That just changes things into crystals, and then you can use them as kind of a inside of like your normal chest or whatever. The other one is just a chemical centrifuge, which is another option for breaking stuff down. Basically, it's kind of like the deconstruction table I just mentioned. If something has a high aspect in it, like let's say arbor. If I have a jar full of arbor, I can use the chemical centrifuge to break it down into its lower aspects, which is Herba and Terra, I think. But I can't really control which ones do what. So it's kind of a 50-50 shot, really. With something like wood, since there's only Arbor and Terra, that probably would be 50-50. But if I went to something like a block of cold coke and wrote that down, that's basically fire, and then Potentia is fire and Ordo. So I would basically have a 66% chance of getting fire. Well, correction, no. I'd basically be breaking down the Potentia because I can't break down fire. So that'd be 50-50 chance of getting fire and Ordo. You get the idea. It's, again, a random numbers thing, so mileage may vary. But I think that's all we're going to do today, guys. I'm going to spend some time getting all that set up. Most of that is just gathering stuff off camera, really. The only thing that would be difficult normally is getting the silverwood planks, because silverwood planks are hard to find in the normal overworld. But like I said, we have that in the recipe. And the rest of this should be pretty simple. I will need to get some more great wood for this one here. But remember, great wood planks, which the guide suggests thrown into a mana pool, are actually much more efficient thrown into a sawmill. So there's that. And then the rest of these pipes aren't really hard. The quicksilver drop, I think we get from sitting things, and if we don't, there are other ways of getting it, including making shimmerleaf. Breaking shimmerleaf or getting the shimmerleaf agricraft crop will drop quicksilver. And then one quicksilver turns into, I think, 9 drops. So, like I said, this isn't really all that hard to get, just time consuming. So, I'll probably get the pipes ahead of time for you guys, and then we can go over the main components later. This will mean that I probably will need to set up at least one more crucible, which isn't a bad thing, or, you know, a hard thing by any means. But yeah. So, again, my name is Damien Oliver, and I want to thank you for watching my channel. If you do have any comments, suggestions, tips, or tricks, feel free to send me a comment down below. I do check these fairly often. Usually every day I load a video, if not more often. So I do see comments, and I do try to respond to them fairly quickly. Otherwise, you can also send me a message through YouTube or through Twitch, which I admittedly have not been using much, but I still check the comments every now and then. And I'll try to get back to you privately through that. In the meantime, have fun.